Today we are working on a market bag or a beach bag. The bags have all the same stitches but are slightly different size. We are starting here at the base and it looks like this here. There's a chain in the middle and then we start crocheting around the chain. The chain is from here till here, so as you see the actual bag is a bit wider than that. With this yarn about 3 centimeters wider or just over an inch. I want the new bag to be slightly wider than this, about 34 centimeters or 13.5 inches, which means then that I will make the starting chain longer. For the new one I'm going to use these here yarns. As you see they are all different, but they are all the same weight and they are all mercerized cotton. Each 50-gram ball has about 125 meters or 134 yards. And I'm using a hook 3.5 millimeter, or it also has a letter E on it. The important thing is that the hook you are going to use goes well with the yarn you are using. You see the tension here on the screen if you want to have a bag of the same size. If these yarns aren't enough, I have quite a bit more. So I'm starting by making a chain that is 30 centimeters or 12 inches long. So I'm chaining until my chain is long enough. I'm not actually counting the stitches. Now it's the right length without stretching. Then chain one more for starting a new row and make a single crochet in each stitch right across. The whole base is done in single crochets. So keep going right until the end of your chain, single crochet in each stitch. Now I'm at the other end with a single crochet in each stitch, and then crochet 2 more in this last stitch for turning. So 2 more single crochets there, and then continue the other side by having 1 single crochet in each stitch on the other side of the chain. So you take the other side loop of the chain for your stitches. Make sure you have 1 in each. And continue like this back to the other end again. So now I'm at the end of the first round. I have gone round the chain both ways, and here make 2 more single crochets in the last stitch of the chain, and then across to the first one and a slip stitch there to finish off the round. And then we start another one very similar. It's just that we are going to increase a bit at both ends so that it gets round. Chain 1 and a single crochet in the same stitch where the chain is, and then a single crochet in each stitch, and take both loops of the stitch on the hook so it gets sort of sturdier. Just go like this to the other end again, and then we'll increase a bit there. Once you come to the other end, I'll make 1 more stitch here. Then increase by having 2 single crochets in the next 2 stitches each. So 2 here and 2 here. And then you just continue. Single crochet in each stitch. And here at the end of the second round, again increase by having 2 single crochets in 1 stitch at the end here. 2 in 1. And then you need 1 more stitch and then finish off with a slip stitch again. And then we start a third round exactly the same, chain 1 and single crochet in the same stitch and single crochets across to the other end. And here now we need to increase 3 times. So 2 here, then 1 in this one, 2 here at the end of the piece, and then just 1 in the next one, and increase 1 more time in this here one. So that way it keeps going round nicely. And then again crochet to the other end. And here at the other end we'll do the same. 2 here, 1, then 2, just 1, and then 2 there, and then finishing off with the slip stitch again, and then 1 more round of the base, chain 1 and start single crochets, and again go to the other end, find sort of the top stitch in the middle, I suppose this one, and then see 1, 2 from it, and then the one before those, make 2 stitches there, and then crochet 2 just normally, and then again 2 in the one at the top, and then 2 normally, and increase 1 more time, and then again go to the other end, and then we do the same at the other end before finishing this base off. 2 here, then 2 single crochets normally, increase here, and then 2 without increases, and 1 more, and here I have 1 stitch to do after it, and then slip stitch, and now just fasten this here off. We are going to change the color here. After the base is finished, we'll go on to make V-stitches, this sort of continuous type. I'm changing the color to this here lilac one, and join the yarn at either end, it doesn't make any difference, right at the end at the top of the chain we started with. Join it there, and then we start the V-stitch, chain 4, then a yarn over and insert the hook in the same stitch where we started, and yarn over and pull through 2 loops, so that's like starting a double crochet, but leave it here now, and then yarn over again, skip 2 stitches and go into the next one and pull up a loop, and again yarn over and through 2 loops, yarn over and through all of the loops, then chain 2, yarn over and start a double crochet in the same stitch as before, and again leave it here with 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and skip 2 and start a stitch in the third one, and now that we have 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and through all of them. So this is what we repeat. Chain 2 in that same one, yarn over, skip 2, and continue like this here, right round. I make one more, so always chain 2, and after chaining 2 you go in the same stitch as before, and then you skip 2, and then through the 3. So here's what you repeat all the time. Now again chain 2 and so on. And when you come to the other end of the piece, you just keep going exactly the same, skipping 2 stitches all the time, because it's meant to start turning upwards now. And as we come to the end of this here round, we'll need to see how we continue to the next round. Now we did not count the stitches when we started, so we don't know how it goes in here. So we may need to adjust something, instead of skipping 2, just skipping 1. So again, I chain 2 and start that stitch. And I have 3 stitches here left, so what I'll do, I don't want to skip 3, so I'll make extra stitches there. I'll just skip 1 here. And then to finish off, we always chain 2 and then start the stitch there, in the same there. And now we have this here loop that we started with. So now at this stage, insert your hook into that there chain space and pull the stitch through there, through all of these. So that joins it so that it looks the same. So that was the first round of this here, these stitches. And then to start the next round, that will always be the same. First, make a slip stitch in the stitch that's in there, and then chain 5. And now yarn over and insert the hook in the chain space underneath there and start a stitch and a yarn over, and now skip into the next chain space. And otherwise we work the same as on the first round, but now we're going into the chain spaces instead, and then through all 3 of them and chain 2, and then in that same chain space, and in the next one, and here again pull through the 3. So this is what we continue. Chain 2 in the same chain space, and the next one, and like this, right round. After I have gone right round, we look one more time how we start the next round. Here I'm nearly at the end, and again chain 2 and start the stitch. And now at this stage go into the starting loop and pull through them all there, and then continue just the same. First a slip stitch in there, and then exactly as the previous round. Now, depending on how big you are making your bag, that how many rounds of this you want to do. This here slightly smaller bag has 10 rounds of these V-stitches. The last round will be different, just so that the stitches for this netting will fit. So this is 10, and for this slightly bigger bag, I'm going to make 13 rounds of V-stitches. Here's that bit done. Like I said in the beginning that I may not have enough yarn, so I actually put some of a slightly lighter kind here in between. Now we need a round of different stitches here so that it's easier to join the next bit. That round is fans of 3 double crochets with 1 chain in between, and we continue right where we left off. First chain 3 and then a double crochet in that same spot where we are and another one. Then chain 1, and looking at the previous round there are these upward V shapes, so we skip one, so we don't go into the next one but the one after, and a double crochet in there, 3 double crochets there in that one place. That's the sort of like a fan shape a bit. And then chain 1 and again skip one, not there but here. And this is how you go round. So 3 double crochets, chain 1 and 3 double crochets, and always skipping over that. So next chain 1 and 3 double crochets in here. Finish that round off with a slip stitch, and next we'll do this here netting, and this has actually been done with 2 rows at the same time, so this and that are 1 row. I'll make 1 slip stitch so that I'm in the middle of these 3 here. I just have enough yarn, I already cut it. And then take your next color, or of course you could make it all in one color if you wanted to, and join it there. I always first use both strands so it makes it stronger. So there's 1 chain there already, and then chain 6 more, so you chain 7 in the beginning. And then we start working on the mesh. 2 yarn overs, then count the 5th stitch from the hook. 5th, and pull up a loop, and then a yarn over and through 2 like this, and leave the rest on the hook. And then we continue yarn over and go into the space in between those fans and pull up a loop there, and through 2 loops, and continue always through 2 loops until all the ones have been done. So as you see, now there's 2 rows of mesh here. Then chain 2, and we start that again. 2 yarn overs, and now we go into the middle here where there's this like a double crochet sideways. So insert the hook there, pull up a loop, and yarn over and through 2 loops. So that's like doing the sideways double crochet, and then yarn over and then go into the middle one of the fan and pull up a loop there, and then we go through 2 loops at a time all the time. Every other stitch goes in the space this is what you between the fans, and every other one in the middle stitch of the fan. I'll do it one more time faster. Chain 2, 2 yarn overs in there, like this. So continue like this right round, except leave one at the end because we'll have to look at it separately. At the end of each round we need to join. So the last stitch is different. I'm now here where there's one more space to put the stitch into. I start the same way, chain 2, 2 yarn overs, and starting here in the middle, this much. But now we need to join both here and there at the start of the round. So yarn over and just like before there, but leave it there and then yarn over and now go across to the start of the round and insert the hook there in the middle of it. And then through 2 loops, and now after that yarn over and pull through 3, because that way those there are sort of closer together, and then finish off the last bit and then chain 2 and a slip stitch into the starting chain space. So that joined the 2 rounds. So at the end of each round, this is what you do. And now the second round, as well as the ones after it, are otherwise the same. It's just that then we simply go into the tops of each of these double crochets there. So you chain 7, 2 yarn overs into the 5th chain, and then you go in that next one. Otherwise exactly the same. And now you continue always chaining 2 first, and then you go into each of them just one after another. In this here bag I have gone round 6 times, which means then that there are 12 rows of these mesh holes. For this here bag I'll go round 8 times, so it will be a little bit higher there. So just keep going until you get all of this here bit done. After the netting bit, we'll have a few rows of fan stitches before doing the border and the straps. So I have finished that there mesh bit and then going to do those fans, and I'm going back to using the same color as I had for the bottom bit of it. Join the yarn by chaining 1. We go to the next stitch here and do a double crochet there. And then we start the fan shapes. Chain 1, another double crochet, chain 1 again, and a 3rd double crochet, chain 1, and then skip to the next stitch and a single crochet there. And this is what we repeat. Because the single crochet lifts the stitches off the previous round, I'm not chaining before the fan, but just directly. Double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet, chain 1. So you do chain after them, and then a single crochet in the next one. So just fans like this, right round. After you have gone round it, make a slip stitch to the start of the round, and then use slip stitches to get into the middle of that there fan. So a couple of slip stitches and there. And now we continue those fans. Chain 4, a double crochet in that same stitch, chain 1 and another double crochet, then chain 1 and skip to the next fan, and 3 double crochets with the chain in between in the middle of that. So you always take the middle stitch there, chain 1, another one there, chain 1, chain 1, and again skip to the next one. So this is how you continue. Every time you come to the end, you start it just the same way and work until you have 5 rounds of these fans. Now I have 5 rounds here, and then after that we'll have 5 rounds of single crochets to get the sturdy top here before starting to make the straps. I cut that previous yarn and then I'm joining the next one. Join it here in the space made by that chain that we had there. And then we start the single crochets. You'll always have 2 in between the stitches here and 1 where you have the chain. So 2 single crochets in that one space, then none into the stitches, only in spaces. 2 and 1 here, and 2 here, 2 in the next space, and 1 in between, like that around. So here I'm nearly finished this first round, and then finishing it off with a slip stitch, and then just start another one, chain 1 and start in the same stitch. And now 1 single crochet into every stitch, and then again finish off with a slip stitch and start a new round. So 4 more rounds, so that we'll have altogether 5 rounds of this before we start making the straps. I finished the single crochets, and then we're starting the strap. From this one you see that I have taken it in a bit here. This slightly smaller bag has 10 stitches in here, and then starting that. Here I'm going to start after 12 stitches here. So I'll first make 12 slip stitches to move a bit further in here, making these 9, 10, 11 and 12. And then starting to make the strap, and I'm using 8 stitches for it, and just going back and forth using single crochets. So chain 1 and go in that same stitch. 1, 2, that's 8. I actually tighten this a bit to make sure that the edges of the strap are not going to be sort of floppy. And then chain 1, and also that quite tightly, and turn and start. Always have to remember to start at the very first stitch to keep it even. I'm going to the other end just to show you how I turn this way. That's 8. Again tighten and chain 1. And with this here I'm turning it back and forth, so every other time I turn this way and every other time that way, just because it's attached to the main body of the work, and I'm not going to start turning it round, round, round. The result is fine even this way. So what you do now, you just go back and forth using single crochets until your strap is long enough, and you need to decide how long you want it to be. I made this one long enough so that when it's hanging on my shoulder, it doesn't touch my armpits at all. It's sort of going lower. So it's twice 31, so that's 62 centimeters, or 12 twice 12, so 24 inches long strap that you need first. When the strap is long enough, leave enough of a yarn end to sew it up later. Then fold the bag right so that it's in line with where we started, and start a second strap here on the other side. This was 12 stitches from the fold, so then count 12 from there and start another one in here, the same length obviously, and then we'll sew them here on the other side at the same spot. I measured where this needs to go so that it's the same distance from the side. So then just sew it up tightly with small stitches. What I'm actually doing after the first couple of stitches, I reinforce it a bit by sewing into the stitches like this here, and then back again, just as an extra strength. And then sewing on, and that same at the other end. And I go through each stitch twice. So first once and then a second time at the same spot to make sure it's strong. Then finish off the second strap and all the yarn ends and enjoy using your bag. If you also need a small bag or purse, check out this video. Till next time!